Why did the Queen of Persia bury 14 children while they were still screaming? You're standing on the edge of a pit. You hear the dirt hitting the fabric of 14 tunics. You see the faces of noble Persian families watching in silence, terrified to make a sound, as their own sons are covered up, layer by layer, until the screaming stops. And the woman giving the order? She isn't some invading barbarian. She's the queen, the wife of Xerxes. And she's doing this for luck. But to understand how a woman reaches that level of cruelty, we have to rewind. You probably know Xerxes, right? The god king from the movies, covered in gold chains, sitting on a massive throne. We usually paint him as the villain of the story. But if you look at the actual history, Xerxes looks like a saint compared to the woman sleeping next to him. Her name was Amestris, and for centuries, historians have tried to figure out how someone could be this brutal in an empire that prided itself on good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. See, the Persian Empire wasn't the chaotic mess you see in Hollywood. It was strict. It was orderly. They had laws about everything, and usually the Persians looked down on human sacrifice. They thought it was dirty. They thought the earth was sacred and shouldn't be polluted with dead bodies. So here is the first layer of the truth we need to peel back. Amestris wasn't just breaking the law. She was untouchable. She was the daughter of Otanes, one of the 7 noble conspirators who helped Darius take the throne. That means she had royal blood running through her veins that was just as potent as her husband's. She wasn't just a wife. She was a power broker. And she knew exactly how to work the system to get away with murder. Let's look at the Robe Incident. This is where the mask really starts to slip. It plays out like the bloodiest soap opera you've ever heard. It starts with a robe, a really nice robe. Amestris was a skilled weaver. She spent months making this incredible, multicolored, gold-threaded robe for her husband, Xerxes. It was a labor of love. She gives it to him, and he loves it. He wears it everywhere. But here's the problem. Xerxes had a wandering eye. He fell in love with his brother's wife. She rejected him. So, in a weird power move to get closer to her, he married his own son to her daughter, a girl named Artente. But then, Xerxes falls for the daughter, his own daughter-in-law. And unlike her mother, Artente doesn't say no. They start an affair. And one day, Xerxes, feeling generous, tells the girl, "Ask for anything you want, and I'll give it to you." He swears a sacred oath. He thinks she's going to ask for gold, or a city, or jewels. She asks for the robe, the one Amestris made with her own hands. Xerxes panics. He knows exactly what this means. If he gives his mistress the robe his wife made, it's not just a gift. It's a public declaration of the affair. It's a slap in the face to the queen. He offers her cities, he offers her an army, he offers her gold. She says, "No, I want the robe." So he gives it to her, and she wears it, in public. Now, this is where you expect Amestris to explode, right? You expect her to go after the girl. But Amestris was smarter than that, and darker. She didn't blame the girl. She blamed the mother. She decided that the girl was just a pawn, and the mother, the woman who rejected Xerxes originally, was the mastermind. So Amestris waits. She doesn't scream, she doesn't cry. She waits for the king's birthday. Now, in the Persian court, the king's birthday was the one day of the year where the king could not refuse a request. It was law. He had to grant a boon. The banquet is huge. Everyone is drinking wine. The mood is high. And Amestris leans over to Xerxes and whispers her request. She doesn't ask for jewels. She asks for the wife of Mesistes, the mother of the girl with the robe. Xerxes is horrified. Mesistes is his favorite brother. This is his sister-in-law. He knows Amestris is going to kill her. He tries to beg her to take something else, but the law is the law, and the entire court is watching. He nods. He hands his brother's wife over to his queen. What happens next is, well, it's hard to even talk about. Amestris didn't just kill her. She wanted to send a message that would haunt the family forever. She had the royal guards grab this woman. They cut off her breasts. They threw them to the dogs while the woman was still watching. Then they cut off her nose, her ears, her lips, and finally, her tongue. They didn't let her die. They sent her back home to her husband, Mesistes, completely mutilated. Imagine that. Imagine being the king's brother, coming home, and seeing your wife destroyed like that, just because the queen had a grudge. Mesistes obviously tried to revolt, and Xerxes had to kill his own brother to stop a civil war. Amestris single-handedly tore the royal family apart over a robe. But here is the thing. That was personal. That was revenge. You could almost understand the logic of a jealous wife, even if it was taken to a psychotic extreme. But the burying alive? That wasn't revenge. That was something much colder. We have records of this from Herodotus, and while he sometimes exaggerates, the specific details here are too precise to ignore. He tells us that Amestris reached old age. She had lived a life of luxury, cruelty, and power, and she wanted to keep living. So she decided to make a trade. A life for a life. Or rather, 14 lives for hers. She rounded up 14 children from the noblest Persian families. These weren't slaves. These weren't enemies. These were the children of her friends, her courtiers, the people who ate at her table. She ordered them to be buried alive. Why? As a gift to the God who is underneath the earth. This is the part that really messes with historians. Zoroastrianism, the main religion of the empire, taught that the earth was sacred. You weren't supposed to pollute it with death. Burying people alive was a huge taboo. It was practically heresy. This reveals something terrifying about Amestris. She didn't care about the religion of her empire. She didn't care about the laws of her gods. When push came to shove, she reverted to something older, something darker. She was practicing a ritual that might have predated the Persian Empire itself, trying to bribe the god of death with the suffering of children. And here is the sickest part of the revelation. You want to know if she got punished? You want to know if karma finally caught up to the queen who fed women to dogs and suffocated children in the dirt? No. She died of old age. She outlived her husband. She remained a powerful, feared figure in the court of her son, Artaxerxes. She got exactly what she paid for. The sacrifice worked. We spend so much time looking at the battles of the Persian Empire. We look at Thermopylae. We look at Salamis. We look at the men with the spears. But sometimes, the real horror isn't on the battlefield. It's in the palace. It's in the quiet rooms where a queen can order the mutilation of a family member over a piece of clothing, or silence 14 children just to buy a few more years of life. It makes you wonder, if someone with that much power demanded your child for a ritual, and you knew refusing meant your entire family would be fed to the dogs, would you have stood by and watched the dirt fall? Or would you have tried to stop her? Let me know what you would have done in the comments below.